we're
Culture
live
shock.
back with Aunt Pat.
Okie doke, culture shock in Miami. In the little school that I went to in Ohio, um, everybody did everything. Every student was in whatever there was to be in. We did not have enough boys to have a football team, although we did have a county championship in basketball, which we were very proud of, the Jackson Tigers. But to Miami Edison High School, you had to audition, and you could only be in one thing. Cadets was an honor society marching outfit. Of course, there was the honor society, but that was not something you tried out for, auditioned for. They also had a band, an orchestra, a mixed chorus, and a ladies' chorus, and men's chorus. Well, because I was a freshman, that meant I could not audition. You had to be a sophomore to get into the mixed choir, mixed chorus. Well, there were 3 of us who were able to breach that rule. Mrs. Dean was the choir director, and she allowed Janine Abrams, Pat Masters, and myself, Pat Meeker, to audition, and we were allowed into the mixed chorus, which was the first time, and to my knowledge, the only time that freshmen had ever been allowed in. That also opened the door for us to go into the ladies' chorus. And that was an adventure because we would always go to Tampa for the annual music concert, convention, contest with the other schools in Florida, and we always took a superior rating, which made Mrs. Dean look good and made us very proud and happy. We were also able to go on a tour to Washington, D.C. and sing in the Capitol, and from there we went to Richmond, Virginia, and toured around Monticello and points of interest there. It was very interesting, very rewarding, and very surprising for this little farm girl to get to do those kind of things. And going back to Miami, we lived a block away from a little Southern Baptist church. We lived on Northwest 2nd Avenue, and the church was on Miami Avenue. And we could walk to church. We had always gone to Church of Christ. Mom and Daddy had always taken us to church, all of us. And when we moved to Miami, that church was so convenient, we just walked there. And that's where I met my husband. But let me go back to Ohio for a moment. Church activities were always a big part of my life. And when my brother's friend got his driver's license, his name was Gerald Moore. His mama was a teacher in the school where we went. Anyway, Gerald had a driver's license, and he would pick Ted, my older brother, and myself up for our Sunday night youth activities. And in the wintertime, I remember going to the playground in back of the school where the ball fields were when it wasn't covered with snow, and Gerald would spin donuts, and I thought that was so much fun. Little did we know, we could have really been hurt, but innocence, the innocence of youth. It was also there that I was learning to drive. My first boyfriend, his name was George Hefferkamp, and he was killed in a train wreck in the little town of Hoytville, Ohio, close to where we lived. Anyway, George had come over one Sunday afternoon, and Mom and Daddy had said I could go with him for a ride. So we did, and I tormented him enough that he said, okay, you can drive. I might have been 14, close to 15. Anyway, country roads are nice. They're narrow, but they usually have pretty broad shoulders. And ours certainly did. And he had driven to the hardtop off of the Shell Rock Road that we lived on. And we were headed into town, and he finally said, okay, I can drive. So I got under the wheel, and I'm going along beautifully until I see a car coming. And I thought, well, I need to get over just a little bit, and I did. And then I got a little bit more over, and I got enough over that I got in the shoulder and slid down the side of the road. And there was a culvert just in front of where the vehicle stopped. He had an old 36 Buick Brown, had the tire on the back of it. Fortunately, there was no damage to the car. My pride was totally ruined. But there was somebody passed by and stopped and got us back on the road. I don't know how or when my mother and father learned about that, or if they ever did. I never told. But another time along that road, that Shell Rock Road, I had a friend from the next county over, a little town called Macomb, Ohio. His name was Wayne Mathis, and Wayne had a motor scooter. I think it was called a Vespa, but I had Trixie. And we were racing down the road, and Trixie stepped in a hole, and she and I both went down head over heels, scared him half to death. Didn't do much for my pride, but we got back up and life went on. Coming to Miami, back to church, I was very active in the church. I sang in the choir, directed the choir, worked with the youth, was very active in missions, was WMU president, Women's Missionary Union president, Sunday school teacher, church secretary, a whole bunch of stuff. All very good training. But I had the first seat in the choir because I did the solo work. And my husband, this good-looking guy, would come to church with his daddy, and they always sat on the back row. His daddy wore a hat, but when he came through the door, that hat came off. He always looked like a fashion plate. And my husband was just out of the Army, and he would sit next to his dad, very tall and thin. He said he gained weight when he went in the Army. He would go through the chow line first and then get back in at the end of it and go through a second time. Didn't show on him like it does on me. But anyway, one day his sister called, the preacher's wife, who called my parents to see if he could call and invite me out. And because my daddy had met him and knew him, he said yes. So he called, and one of our favorite things to do was drive-in movie, and then to a little drive-in restaurant on Northwest 2nd Avenue that had the best hot fudge sundaes that anybody ever made. My husband, Jesse Mayfield Huey, rode a motorcycle, and a number of his friends did also. One of them named Connie Borchiller. We were out, the four of us. Connie's girlfriend, I don't remember her name now. But anyway, we were out on the motorcycles, and Connie had a different motorcycle. My husband had a Harley Davidson. I don't remember what Connie had, but I wanted to ride on it. He said, sure, hop on. And I did. So we went for a ride through the cemetery, which was frowned upon. I don't know why. We didn't tear anything up. We just rode through it. Really wasn't very nice. But my husband and Connie were very good friends and just a little mischievous. Connie rode his motorcycle up through the open doors of the movie theater on Flagler Street in Miami, across the stage, and out the door. And the area was, excuse me, the police officers in that area knew pretty much where Connie and my husband were from the sounds of their motorcycles. So it was an interesting time for them. I wasn't there, I just heard about it secondhand. Excuse me. We were married June 4th, 1954, 1 year after I graduated from Miami Edison High School. And our first child, Linda, was born in 1955, April 24th. Excuse me, I need to get a drink.